Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bari Connected podcast. And we are joined today with Dr. Susan Mitchell. Susan, say hi.
Hey. Hi, Brenda. Hi, everyone.
Hello. I'm just making sure here that we're connected. Okay. I think people can hear us. Let us know. Say hi if you're here with us. We have the chat box. You guys, it looks like we have Sarah here with us. Hello. And I'm also going to be kind of checking in on our Facebook page. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel is super helpful. We're going to be talking about 7 bariatric carbs you'll love that fight a fatty liver. And, what is a fatty liver? If you've prepared for a weight loss surgery, a lot of people have heard that term. If you haven't, we'll be talking about what that looks like. And I'm going to be turning the key over here to Susan and let her kind of talk a little bit more about this. But I also want to just kind of do a brief introduction. I had met Susan through a mutual friend, and she's been a dear and wonderful friend to me since, I mean, how long do you think we've known each other? A couple of years now?
Gosh. Yes, quite a few years now. Yeah. We must have been really young when we started.
So true. And she also is very comfortable with doing these. We were just talking before this. Susan, before I kind of just go into your bio, how about I just kind of let you dive in and tell them? Because I feel like what I'm going to say is not going to do you justice for what you've done in the past and what you continue to do here for the bariatric community specifically.
Oh, well, okay. Let's see. That's very nice. Well, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you are listeners to my podcast, which is Bariatric Surgery Success. I've been doing that now for a couple of years. You can listen anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And actually, I am a prior radio dietitian. So I did about 18, 20 years on the radio during drive time in the mornings. And I started in television and moved from there into radio, and have really been active in media, I guess, for most of my career in some way or another, working with food companies. I worked as the Target dietitian, their media dietitian for a long time. And I've written books. So I guess you would say my passion and my love are sharing nutrition information to you, to the public, to help you in whatever journey. So my journey and my love is obesity, bariatrics, weight, which I've been working in for quite a while. And we met doing some of these types of seminars. I've had different podcasts throughout the years. So I've kind of been in the podcast business since it first started. I learned that doing that trick at the radio station, seminars. So now that's what I do. And I do webinars and classes and various things. My love is doing things through the media like we're doing today.
Yeah. And I just posted your Bariatric Surgery Success resources link so that if anybody is interested in kind of checking that out. How many recordings do you have right now on there, would you say?
Gosh, let's see. I think we just did in studio yesterday. We're around 140, 142 podcasts. So I do them myself, but if you're a regular listener, you know that Dr. Connie Stapleton, she's a bariatric psychologist in Atlanta. She joins me frequently, as well as 2 other bariatric dietitians, Isabel and Gail, who are in different parts of the country. And they come on, we talk about what's going on in the clinics. We answer a lot of questions that come out of my private Facebook group. And then Connie and I get into mental health issues that are so tied into food. I'm a big believer as a dietitian, you can't have one without the other. If you want to succeed with food, you've got to address the mental health. The mental health then affects food. So all together. And she comes on and we talk about, you name it, everything from shame to bullying to imposter syndrome. We're going to cover it. If it's out there and it's bugging you and you tell me about it in the Facebook group, we're going to do a podcast on
it. So make sure and tune into her Facebook group too, where you can request a certain topic too, because I know I feel the same way. It's always nice to have that input. Definitely. Yeah. I take all suggestions too. If let us know here in this chat, if there's something, that interests you to talk about. I took, when people register for these, I do take a little bit of a poll and ask, you have any questions? Over the past week, I've been collecting, and I think I have 20 or 30 different things that people have questions about. Connie, specifically for this, they really are interested in knowing about how carbs kind of fit into this and what are the best carbs. There was some questions regarding that. And I know
that'll tie in today
on that.
To a lot of what we're talking about. Absolutely. Because one thing about bariatric nutrition, I think it's so important to say right up front, it's technical and it's complicated. So it does matter where you get your information from. You want to make sure you're talking to a registered dietitian and one who preferably has bariatric experience or is a bariatric dietitian, because nutrition, just like medicine, is very specialized now. And dietitians specialize just like nurses specialize, right, Brenda? And you want to know that when you're getting your information, it comes from somebody who knows that they're talking about, because there's a lot of information on Dr. Google that you shouldn't follow.
Well, the thing is with bariatrics, you get onto a lot of different Facebook groups and a lot of different, and I think people's intention is good to try to help
Absolutely.
you to make sure, that you're doing the right things. But coming from a professional kind of true experience in the field can be a lot better than maybe somebody who's just doing the journey on their own. So I would say, not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think that there's always people out there that can help and support you, but just be careful. Yeah. Just be careful.
And it's your body. So really protect it, take care of it, and take care of what you believe when other people tell you, because it's your health and your journey.
And it looks like we actually have quite a few different people saying hello. I just want to shout out to Sarah, Melissa, Amy, Meg. Hey, Meg. Teresa, Cindy, Denise, Kristen. It looks like either.
Oh, thanks for taking your time, everyone. I'm so excited you're here.
Yes. Thank you so much. And on Facebook, if you're joining there, please say hi to us. Let us know you're watching. We'll be kind of watching that feed as well as we're kind of going through. Let us know where you heard about us. I'd love to know that. Were you part of Dr. Susan Mitchell's community? Are you part of our Bari Nation? Are you part of there's lots of facilities that we share this information with. Is it a community within one of those, like Chi Emmanuel? We always have a lot of followers from there, or Dr. Haja's group. Just let us know. Let us know where you're coming from. In that, we're going to just kind of jump right in, because I feel like there's so much on this topic.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And also, hi, Terry. Terry's joined us in Lizette. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Such a pretty name. So go right ahead. I'm going to just let you
want me to start off?
This.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say, you might be sitting there going, what the heck is a fatty liver? So if you are, no worries. We're going to talk about that, because were you told you had a fatty liver before your surgery? And you might be thinking, what does that mean? Is it something I should be concerned about? Is it something that I can change? Is it going to bother me down the track? And what about the foods I eat? Can they change it? Can they make it better? And all of those things that we're going to talk about today. So I think the easiest place, Brenda, is for us to start with a little what I'm going to call fatty liver 101. So basically, think about your liver. It wears a lot of hats. It's located at the upper right abdomen. And what does it do? It really detoxifies drugs and alcohol. That's what it's known for. But it also produces bile for fat breakdown, and it stores glucose along with storing vitamins and minerals. So the medical term for fatty liver is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that's what you may have had somebody tell you. You have fatty liver, or you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's also abbreviated NAFLD. So you might see that on a chart or some paperwork that you've given. Again, NAFLD, that's just short for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But let me just say right here, this kind of fatty liver is not tied to alcohol consumption. Okay. That's another liver disease. That's not the liver disease that we're talking about today. So this isn't a result of too much alcohol. So what happens in fatty liver disease is that basically fat builds up in your liver cells. And you're thinking, now, why does that happen? Or how does that happen? In the early stages, you probably don't even know that you have it because they're really not symptoms. If you have the flu or cold, you know it because you got coughs and stuffy nose, you're sneezing, aching, you can check a fever. But with fatty liver disease, not necessarily are you feeling symptoms in the beginning. And oftentimes, you won't have medical symptoms until it's really gotten bad. So you don't want it to get to that point because then you have liver scarring and liver inflammation and problems that go along with that. So even though you don't have symptoms in the early stages, there are things that your doctor might be checking. You might be thinking, then why is he checking for it? I don't have symptoms, why is he checking for it? Well, what we know is that with obesity and when you're carrying extra weight, and maybe let's say, is your cholesterol high? How about your LDL cholesterol? And are your triglycerides high? Maybe your blood glucose is high, and maybe your blood pressure is high. When a physician sees these different things, oftentimes fatty liver goes with that. So they will say, okay, if I'm seeing these things, then I need to look at it. And you say, well, what causes it? Where did I get it? Have you seen fatty liver disease, Brenda, in some of your work?
I would say with what I'm doing now, probably not as much as before. Before I worked with ProCare as a nurse, I worked at a bariatric surgery clinic and saw patients, and I did that for about 8 years. So in the clinic setting, 100% yes. I would say literally, like every patient is kind of screened for that before surgery, and there's risk factors. A lot of times you can't tell until the surgeon can't tell until they get in there, to do the surgery. And maybe you'll be going in more into that. But I will just say it is definitely a thing, with patients.
It's definitely a thing.
Yes.
And a thing you don't want.
With
you
risk
can help
factors too, like people like in this community, when you're going in to have surgery, you've had a few extra pounds on, and a lot of people will have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of those other things. So yes.
Yeah. And you might be thinking, well, what causes it to develop, and is it affected by food? So yes, absolutely. Fatty liver disease is affected by food. And the thought is that when you've eaten too many calories, at some point in your body, that storage of fat goes from storing in the fat tissues and the fat cells, and also starts to store in the liver and the heart and the pancreas. And this is when you start to see fatty liver. So it's an overconsumption of calories, and certain types of calories. Typically, yes, we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes about what are the calories, but it does develop and is affected by food. So it's overconsumption of calories, typically a lot of refined, unprocessed carbs. And at some point, fat storage, fat cells, it moves into storing in the liver. And that liver over time becomes inflamed. And then you start to have liver functioning problems, and you can start to have scar tissue. So those things then start to affect how well the liver's doing what it's supposed to do in the body, making that bile and storing glucose and doing all the things it's supposed to do. So what's your healthcare provider going to do? Probably run blood tests. They're going to do a physical exam, of course, but then they're going to look at, and there's two, and I'm going to give you the science names just so that if your doctor says that to you, you can go, I've heard of that. I know exactly what you're doing, so that you'll be aware when that comes up. But one of the liver tests is called ALT, and one is called AST. So ALT and AST. If you were to get a printout of your lab work and you go down all the tests that were run, if they do liver function tests, you'll see the AST and the ALT. So alanine aminotransferase, that's ALT. You don't have to remember that name, but the doctors know it by these big names that they use. Aspartate aminotransferase, that's AST. You will see it on lab profiles and on sheets, though, as typically is the abbreviation of AST and ALT. If those are abnormal, then that's a good moment for the doc to go, I need to dig a little bit deeper here, because if I'm seeing high blood glucose, if I'm seeing excess weight, if my cholesterol, triglycerides of the person are elevated, then I'm going to run these liver labs, liver profile. If they're high, then they might go on. And you think about, have you been asked to do this and do either an MRI? They might do a CT scan, other things that can take a look at the liver before they get in there. So that's probably more than you ever wanted to know. But I think it's really important that you understand, because this matters when you get into surgery, and it matters after surgery. The more severe form, which I hope that you don't have and you don't get to that, but when the liver becomes so inflamed that the functioning becomes a problem and the liver starts to scar, it becomes what's known as NASH, NASH. It just means non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. That's a fancy word for saying your liver is not doing what it's supposed to do because it's now inflamed and it has scar tissue. So that's the worst form when you start to see a lot of health issues. How often, Brenda, did you see fatty liver go to NASH in your prior clinic?
I would say maybe out of, 2,000 or 3,000 patients, maybe 5 to 10%. It wasn't a huge number, but let me rephrase that. Where it caused a problem where they couldn't do surgery.
Yes, where it caused a problem because of functioning that you couldn't do surgery.
But as far as fatty liver itself, probably more common than that. I mean, maybe 10, 15, 20%, somewhere in there. I mean, I never really did statistics on it. One thing too, just to kind of add to what you're saying, is the liver actually sits right on top of the stomach. And so when the surgeons go in, they actually take retractors and they pull up like say this is your stomach. Whoops, this is your liver sitting on top of your stomach. They actually take and pull up with retractors to be able to visualize the stomach, to be able to do surgery. So if your liver, if they're not able to pull it up and look at it really well, look at your stomach really well, prevents them from doing the surgery. So that's why it's that low-fat diet before surgery is so important, because it helps to take down some of the inflammation. It helps the doctor to better visualize. It helps your outcome for your surgery to be better. So anyways, just a little.
And most of the time, when you have a good team, they're going to be very aware of what's going on with you and pick up on the fatty liver before it gets to the really concerning stage. Because the really good news is, yes, you can do something about it. And yes, you can turn it around. And yes, you don't have to have it. And no, you don't have to have it for the rest of your life. So that's the part that I really like about it. In fact, there are no drugs that treat it. There are drugs in studies right now, but there are no drugs that treat it. The number one way to treat it is change in diet, specifically what you eat, and weight loss. So I think that this, if you have had surgery already, is going to make your day and make you do a happy dance. So when you have bariatric surgery, it brings significant and long-term weight loss. That is considered an effective treatment for fatty liver disease. Let me say that one more time. If you've had surgery, bariatric surgery is considered a significant and a long-term weight loss that is an effective treatment for fatty liver disease. So I love that. Happy dance, happy dance, happy dance. So you should know. And if you're going into surgery soon and you're thinking, oh, I've been dealing with this, I've been told I have this fatty liver disease, then know that the weight loss and the surgery are two fabulous treatments. And I think that is a lot of good to look forward to. There's so many good outcomes from the surgery, but this is a really technical, specific one that can really make a difference.
I'm reading some of the comments here too. It looks like we have Sarah says, good to be here. Larry says, tell your dog hi. My dog is such a creeper. He keeps coming into the picture here. So his name is Hank. I'll tell him hi. He's sleeping on the floor. He sleeps half the day.
He's been good right now.
Yes. Right? He better stay like that. Courtney says, hello from Iowa. Denise says, I am about 5 pounds from my goal. I'd like to know how to incorporate more healthy carbs into my diet, it seems like when I look at legumes, fruit, it is impossible to keep under 50 grams per day. 500, goodness gracious. So we'll definitely touch on that. And Meg says hello from Chicago. Hello, Meg. Shanna says hello.
Gosh, you guys are all over the country. It's wonderful. Or hopefully the world. Maybe we have some of the Aussies here, New Zealanders here that listen in on the podcast. So I hope you're with us as well. And so I hope that this gives you a brief explanation, because where I want to spend this other part of our time is now, okay, we know what we're dealing with. You understand it. You can ask some questions and feel like that you're not lost when the doctor starts going with this, and that you're aware. But yes, I want to get into specifics about food. And I'd like to give you at least 6 or 7, 8 different carbs that I like and why. But first, food can negatively affect your liver, or food can positively affect your liver. So it really depends on what you eat. So let's look at, first of all, what do you not want to do? What type of foods will raise your risk for fatty liver? What will cause more problems with it? And I'm going to look at, the term slider food, but I'm going to use that as an example. So when I say slider food, what comes to your mind? What are you thinking about? Throw me something in the comments and Brenda will tell us. But when I say slider foods, I'm thinking about foods that lack fiber, right? They pretty much lack nutrition. So most of the time, they're big nutritional zeros. They're typically high in sugar. And when you eat them, they just slide right on down, don't they? Just right on down. And when they're overeaten, that sugar, those calories in too many convert to fat. That fat goes from the fat cells and overflow starts into the liver. So it is the typically processed carbs, slider foods, lack of fiber, lack of nutrition, high in sugar that just slide right on down. So those types of things are the foods that will affect the liver in a negative way and toss up your chance of getting fatty liver disease. So, okay, negative, we know that. Let's go to the good stuff. What can you do to change it? Can you still have carbs? Absolutely. Don't miss this. So if you're multitasking right now, come back to me, because I want to tell you something that's really important. It's not the percent of carbs that you eat each day. It's the type of carbs. It's the type of carbs that make a difference in treating your liver and helping your liver. So in other words, we just said that the slider foods, we want to, punch those out, kick them to the curb. The slider foods are not the type of carb that you want. You want what I refer to them as smart carbs. So smart carbs are high fiber carbs that are low in sugar. So you want to think not processed or minimally processed, because some carbs that are good carbs are processed. So that term can sometimes be misleading. Not excessively processed, closer to whole food, high in fiber, low in sugar. That's a smart carb. That's the type of carb your body wants after surgery. Actually, before surgery too, but also after surgery for sure. So let's get into some specifics. Any that you're thinking of, Brenda, before I start? I got a good list, and I'll talk about some different ones and hopefully throw out some things people haven't thought about.
Well, I do have a question too here.
Yep.
So the things that people listed was chips, popcorn, Cheez-Its, pudding, potatoes, ice cream.
Okay, so let's go back to those. So start again. So ice cream, yes, could be an easy slider food, right? High in sugar, high in fat, not necessarily nutritious. Popcorn, okay. Popcorn, you have to get to where you can tolerate. That one is very individual, but popcorn is a high fiber food. And if you put very little on it, some salt or some other seasonings, once you're able to tolerate popcorn, a lot of people cannot. It's not considered a slider food. It is a fibrous food that does take some work. Cookies, ice creams, yes. What were some of the others? Cheese is a protein food and actually should be in your protein foods that add protein to the diet. Shouldn't be a slider food unless you're just sitting there with chunks of cheese that you're eating and nothing else, no other high fiber foods. But it really should be in your protein group and be okay. What else was on the group and the list you were throwing out that people said they were thinking were slider foods?
Potatoes was one.
Potatoes, the secret there, sweet potatoes are best, very high fiber. That's always a good choice. If you're going to have a white potato down the road, which you can, it comes back to portion, then those you want to eat the skin because the skin is loaded with fiber and nutrition. So the skin on a potato, portion size would matter, but I'd rather see you start with a sweet potato, much higher fiber and nutrition from the standpoint of your surgery. Okay, so shall I start through some of the foods?
Sure, yes, go right ahead.
Okay, so one I want to tell you about, and I want to know how many of you do this. And again, you can say, I've done it, but I like spiralized noodles. And when I'm saying spiralized noodles, I'm really talking zoodles because I'm talking vegetables. And so the example I'm going to use is spiralized squash. Who's done that? So that you're using squash in place of pasta. So you're getting, if you have a spiralizer, works great. Many stores carry spiralized veggies in the veggie section, in the produce section, but spiralized noodles, or what's known as zoodles, spaghetti squash, works fabulous to replace your pasta. Super low calorie, but loaded in vitamin C and vitamin A and fiber. You can also freeze these. I don't know if you know that, but let's say you cook some zoodles, some spaghetti squash noodles. You can freeze your extra and little packets and bring it out later and add it to your marinara sauce. And then let's say you like seafood, you could add in scallops, or you could add in shrimp. You could put strips of chicken across the top. It really is unlimited to the protein that you add, but it's super low calorie, but very nutritious. And most people think, what am I going to do without my pasta? Well, I have another pasta example coming up, but in the meantime, you can use veggies for your pasta by looking into zoodles. So I hope you've tried those. If you haven't, look where you shop. If you have your own spiralizer, do that. It's so tasty and so easy to do. So my other option for pasta, if you're saying, oh, come on, I can't take the zoodles. I want my pasta. I get that. So what I like are the plant-based high protein pasta. These are, again, what do you notice about them? Smart carbs, high in fiber, right? And the plant-based high protein pasta is not just high in fiber, it's high in protein. Let's see, the brand, and there are a lot of brands out there. I'm just thinking of a brand we have here. So depending on where you live, this might not be the case, but Barilla makes one I love. Do you know it, Brenda?
Yeah, I've bought that a lot.
It's really good, right? It's a mixture of lentil and chickpea and spelt, S-P-E-L-T flours, all plant-based, but loaded. They have a who's who nutrition profile. So you're getting fiber, you're getting a lot of nutrition, you're getting protein, and it's plant-based. So this is a way to get a smart carb into it and into your diet. And then you can go back at our house. What I do with that, because I keep boxes of it because it's easy to do. I either do shrimp or I do chicken strips. I might have lean pork strips that I do. And sometimes I just do cheese different. It might just be a really good Parmesan that you shred onto the top of it for protein. So when somebody was saying again about protein as a slider food. So here's an example when the cheese becomes your protein. But also remember, you've got protein in that pasta. So you've got protein from the plant-based pasta. You've got protein in the Parmesan. You put those together, it's like a twofer, right? And you're upping that protein intake. At the same time, you get fiber, and the same time, you get a lot of nutrition. So two great ideas. Okay, here's another one you like, flatbread pizza. You're probably going, woo, pizza. We love pizza at our house, and I'm always looking for healthy ways to do it. So flatbread pizzas, what I want you to find are the thinnest little crackers that you can, because the lower the calorie for those, the better. Some people will have little whole grain flatbreads. So you're looking for thin and lower calorie. And then you take your lower carb veggies. You can even do a ratatouille, right? Of eggplant, zucchinis, mushrooms. You can do something like that you make up and then just put on your flatbread, or you can do your personal favorites and make a veggie-centric or veggie-based flatbread. And then you, again, can do a grated mozzarella on the top of that for some protein. Or you could add in little bits of protein, little bits of ham or little bits of chicken, whatever you want to do. So those are 3 so far. What do you think? Anybody getting hungry? I haven't had lunch yet here. So anybody have the flatbreads going? Okay, let's go on. Yeah. Here's another great, and again, these are all smart carbs. These all work if you have a fatty liver. These all work if you don't have a fatty liver. They're all good for after bariatric surgery. And the secrets, again, are they are high in fiber and they're low in sugar and they're close to natural state, so to speak, if you would. Okay, mushrooms. Who's a mushroom fan? So I like all types of mushrooms, but I'm a real fan of what's the ones I'm trying to think about? The Bella mushrooms, they have a meatier, thicker texture. So if you're thinking, I like that flavor of meat, try the Bella mushrooms. Really, really good. But mushrooms are basically fat-free. And you can do a half a cup of mushrooms. You want to guess how many calories? What do you think, Brenda? Throw it out there. Half a cup of sliced mushrooms.
Probably like 5 or 10.
Yeah. I'm so glad. 8 little measly calories, 8 calories, half a cup of sliced mushrooms, fat-free, low sodium, low calorie, low carb. What's not to love, right? And so you can add these into that flatbread pizza we were just talking about. You could put these into your marinara sauce to go onto those zoodles. So they not only contain a lot of what we call micronutrients, and that means nutrients that your body needs in smaller amounts like copper or selenium, but they also contain potassium and riboflavin, but they also contain pre and probiotics. And most people aren't aware that mushrooms are a source of pre and probiotics. So they have a benefit to your gut as well. I like foods that have multi-purpose, right? You can tell that already from what I'm sharing. I want to get as much bang for the buck as I can. If I'm going to eat them, I want to get some nutrition. I want some fiber. If they're going to do something to enhance my gut health, that's a good thing too. So mushrooms do that. And you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with them? Well, besides that marinara sauce, besides that flatbread pizza, if you like eggs, easy way to add them in to as an omelet. Or just, I call them here, when I don't have time to make a good looking omelet, I call them confetti eggs. Basically, what that means is I chop up whatever veggies that I have in the fridge, and then I saute them in a little bit of olive oil or grapeseed oil. And then I just add them into the eggs so they look like confetti. And it may not look like a pretty perfect omelet, but the confetti eggs get it done. And there's lots of veggies in there. So mushrooms are a great way to do that as well. Now, who's tried any of the, I'm going to call them ancient grains, but also the more unusual grains like freekeh, F-R-E-E-K-A-H, freekeh or bulgur wheat. Both of these are good choices for smart carbs and for after surgery, and to change it up a bit, because don't you get tired of the same thing? I want to have different things and try different things. So if you're adventuresome and you're eating, think about trying freekeh. Freekeh is more a Middle Eastern grain. It's a good source of protein, plant-based again. It's a source of calcium and magnesium and zinc. And then bulgur wheat's a really easy grain to make as actually a main entree. I'll tell you how this works. If you've used bulgur wheat, it's really easy to cook, doesn't take that long. And you know how these grain bowls are so popular right now? Do you like them, Brenda? How you'll see them layered. It'll start.
I love them. Yes.
Yeah. What's your favorite grain on the bottom?
I think quinoa.
Oh, quinoa. Oh, and that's a good choice too, by the way. I'm not talking about quinoa just because so many people know it, but quinoa is a great choice. And you see them with brown rice so often, but there are a lot of grains that have so much more nutrition than brown rice. And example being quinoa, bulgur wheat, and freekeh. So it's easy to do them in a bowl, put it in the bottom. But again, portion is what matters. So we're looking based on where you are, anywhere from a quarter cup to a half a cup, could be more if you are very athletic and burning a lot of calories. It's very individualized, but you can still start with your grain on the bottom. You can add lots of that ratatouille type mix of vegetables in there as well. You can put a little bit of cheese on the top, some seasonings that you like, maybe a little sliced avocado on the side for some healthy fat, and come up with a nice small bowl based on a healthy grain on the bottom. And then, of course, don't forget, you can put your protein always across the top. And that makes up something that's really more unique that most people aren't having, gives you something different to try. But both of those are really good. And bulgur wheat can be done in about 10 or 12 minutes, where some of the brown rices can take 20 or 30 minutes, and you're like, okay, come on. And the nutrition's really not as powerful. Nothing wrong with it. There's just other options for that. Getting hungry?
Susan, yeah. Susan, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Freqa is Freqa and bulgur is Bulgur?
No, okay. Bulgur is Bulgar.
Okay.
Bulgar, bulgur wheat. And Freqa is actually online. You're going to see a couple of spellings for Freqa, but the one we use the most is Freekah. So it looks like free and then Kah, K-A-H, Freekah. So those are.
I had it wrong. I was like trying to look it up on the side while we were doing it. And I was finding all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. So that's typical, but you'll see other spellings as well. But those are probably the most common ones. Another one that if you're looking to boost your nutrition is ground flaxseed. Now you're thinking, oh, I'm not looking to that to make my meal. No, you're not. What you're looking at is while we're on grains, carbs scare a lot of people, right? You feel like carbs, I can never eat them again, or I don't know what to choose, but don't let carbs scare you. Carbs provide the number one source of energy to your brain. So when you're having brain fog and your diet's super low in carbs and you feel like your little booty's crawling along the ground, carbs help with that. They help run the body. So they're super important. The type of carb, as we said a few minutes ago, is what really matters, that type of carb. And then, of course, portion size, which you know already, but ground flaxseed. And the reason I say ground is that if you have whole flaxseed and sprinkle it on, whole flaxseed pretty much goes in one end and out the other in the same shape it was when you put it in. So and you don't get the nutrition benefits of it. So what you want to do is buy it ground. You can grind it yourself if you want to, but it's easier just to buy in the bag ground. I use it on a daily basis. I put it probably a teaspoon to a tablespoon, somewhere in that. Like 1 tablespoon, if I'm remembering right, is close to 40 calories, and it's about 2 grams of carbs. I think that's about right. It's pretty low carb in about a tablespoon, but it adds a lot of nutrition, and it has a nice nutty flavor. So you will enjoy it in a smoothie. I'll put it on top of yogurt in a yogurt bowl, but that nutty flavor comes with a lot of nutrition. So that's worth if you're trying to get the fiber and a nutritional boost. But the one thing it does anybody know what special benefit ground flaxseed has? It helps lower cholesterol. So if your total cholesterol is high, this is a good way to something that you can do to add on a daily basis or several times a week that over time, if you're consistent with its use, can lower cholesterol. That's kind of a nice little side benefit, right? Especially when we know we have, you're getting ready to say something, Brenda. What's you thinking?
Well, I was just going to say, I think too, I know it also is, I believe it's really high in antioxidants. It has, lots and lots of other types of vitamins in it. Thiamine, copper, phosphorus, selenium, zinc. And, one other thing that I've really heard with it too is it also can help with blood pressure, helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, may actually help to manage
fiber
weight.
always helps do that.
Yeah.
And so the more fiber you have, the easier it is to manage your weight, because fiber gives you satiety, a feeling of fullness. And in fact, let me just think about if you have all together now, because you're going to know what I'm going to say. If you have a high protein diet and it's low in fiber, what does that lead to? It's the big C. Constipation, right? Think about it. Constipation is so common after surgery because you're told, eat this high protein diet, and fiber's really low. And all of a sudden you're thinking, I'm going to kill somebody here. I can't move this. The poop has stopped and I'm in trouble. So one smart carb that you can help alleviate and get regular and stop that constipation with are beans. So I'm a big bean fan. Yes, beans are a carb. Yes, they're plant-based, but they are also very high in fiber and protein. So beans to the rescue. If you are constipated, add a half a cup of beans, black beans, navy beans, kidney beans, red beans, whatever bean you like, they work. And make sure, though, here's the secret with the fiber. Don't miss this. Real important. Water, lots of fluid when you can have your fluids. Why? If you eat a lot of fiber with no liquid, it's going to do this. It's going to become a concrete block in your bowel. You're going to text me and go, thanks a lot. So I'm telling you right now, when you up your fiber intake, up the fiber, up the fluid, they go together to make a stool that moves so that you don't have constipation. And you're not writing me because you feel like there's a concrete block in your colon. All right. So beans to the rescue, add them in. I know we only have X amount of time, right, Brenda? So
yeah, you're doing good on time. I think we're like right about 15 minutes to the hour.
Okay. So a couple of more. Going back to what I was saying about flaxseed, there are a couple of things you can do if you like to switch it up. And that's also use wheat germ. So if you're using flaxseed and you're going to sprinkle it on a bowl, if you're going to add it to a high protein smoothie or shake, you can alternate that with wheat germ. So wheat germ also has a really nutty taste, only about, I'm thinking again, around 30 calories or so, a tablespoon, low carb. It's around 4 grams of carb, I think, for that amount. But fiber, iron, phosphorus, folate, all of those things. It's like a nutrition who's who. So I alternate those on a weekly basis into my protein drinks as a way to boost my nutrition in a very simplistic way that's low carb, high fiber. So have you tried those? Which one is your favorite? Comment and tell us what you liked. Are you the flaxseed? Are you the wheat germ? Do you like them both? I like them both. I like the nutty flavors, but I like even more what they do. I like that cholesterol lowering effect because surgery or not, so many people are dealing with high cholesterol, and food can help with that.
It looks like I don't have any comments yet with which one is their favorite. I know for me, I've only tried the flaxseed, so I don't know. I'm going to have to try the wheat germ. We do have a question though. What about chia seeds? And is the wheat germ oil better than the ground? Those are 2 questions.
Okay, so let's go with what about chia seeds? Chia seeds, again, are fine. Remember with chia, you have to start slowly because chia seeds, what's specific or kind of to them is that they absorb liquid and bulk very quickly. So you want to start slow with chia seeds and make sure that they're not just eaten by themselves, they're put into some other foods, and that you start with a smaller amount. So as they bring in that liquid, we don't want to create early on any type of swallowing issue or potential choking problem or feeling like something is stuck in your throat. So I like chia. It does have protein in it, but start with a small amount and then work up if you're one that likes it a lot. That's a fine one. And what was the other one that was to follow that, Brenda? The other question?
The other thing was, is wheat germ oil work better than ground?
Okay, they're different. So ground wheat germ, like ground flaxseed, still retains its majority of its carbohydrate and its fiber and nutrition. When something is processed all the way down to an oil, whether it's avocado oil or walnut oil or a wheat germ oil, then fiber, all of that's pretty much, and as carbs are removed too, it's mainly going to become then more of a fat. So believe it or not, wheat germ and flaxseed do have some fat in them. That's just part of their makeup. And that would be the part that comes into the oil. So they would really be used for different things. The wheat germ, the flaxseed, and their ground state are going to be more the high fiber with the nutrition. The others with the oil could be used more in cooking or a salad dressing. Wheat germ oil can be a little bit hard to find, but if you like that nutty taste in it, can also work in as an oil. Good question. Oh, I like that. I'm very impressed. One more I want to talk about that most people think they can never have. Medjool dates. Who loves dates? I mean, medjool dates. Oh my goodness. Fiber, potassium, magnesium. All three of those things are good for what? High blood pressure. So if your blood pressure is kind of up there and you're thinking, ooh, I need to get that down. Well, medjool dates have fiber, potassium, magnesium, all good for that. Now, granted, one date's going to be about 65 calories. That's about 15, 17 grams of carb, depending on the size of the date. But they contain what's called phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are plant nutrient is another word for that. Phyto meaning plant. So plant nutrients, they are, I'll give you two specific. Have you ever heard lutein and zeaxanthin? Lutein and zeaxanthin. You've maybe heard about them for your eye health as a way to prevent macular degeneration. For example, they're found in corn. So if you have some type of corn, that will be rich in that. But that's what medjool dates contain. So you don't even think about that because yellow corn makes sense, but that the date and it's deep brown, you wouldn't think of it containing those plant nutrients, but it does. So they're good for your eye health at the same time that they're good for fiber, at the same time they're good for blood pressure. So can you kind of see where we're going with all of these smart carbs? They're all like members of a team. They play different positions in that they do a lot of different things. They might bring protein. They might bring fiber. They might bring phytonutrients that do great things for the eyes or another part of the body. Maybe it's vitamins and minerals. Maybe it's the whole package, which a lot of them do. So one thing I like to do with medjool dates, and then I'll give you a tip for one to do for the holidays. But as a snack, if you're tolerating peanut butter or nut butters well now, you can slit open, medjool date are the fatter ones, right? The bigger dates. You can slit that open, take the big seed out that's inside and put peanut butter in it. So stuff the medjool date with peanut butter. It is so tasty. So here you've gotten healthy fat of the peanut butter, protein from the peanut butter, fiber, vitamins and minerals from the medjool date, and smart carbs. So then the holidays come and you want to do something special for someone. Take those medjool dates, line them up, slit them open, take out the seeds, put in the peanut butter. It could be almond butter, could be sunflower butter, whatever, and then melt some really good quality dark chocolate and take it and dip it into the dark chocolate. That's the date that's stuffed with the peanut butter, whatever nut butter. Dip it into the dark chocolate, put it onto something with some kind of wax paper or parchment paper, put it in the refrigerator for just a little while so that chocolate adheres to that date. And your friends are going to be lining up to know how you did those. They are so tasty. They make a great little gift. They're very nutritious and they do a lot of things for your body. And chocolate, if you're thinking, well, I didn't even know I could have chocolate. Actually, there's a really good podcast. I don't remember which one it is, what number it is, but go back to the Bariatric Surgery Success podcast and it'll say 5 benefits of chocolate or 5 things you didn't know about chocolate. And it'll tell you all the benefits. But the best chocolate for post-surgery is the dark chocolate. So 60%, 65, 70. If you can go to 80 or 90 and you like it, that can get pretty bitter. The dark chocolates have the most or the highest content of the phytochemicals, plant nutrients within them.
Hey,
so are you hungry? And I think you have some resources, Brenda. I think I shared that you can either put the links into the comments or if you can put them another place. there's another podcast on Can You Really Eat Carbs? That's episode number 127. And Does Weight Loss Surgery Help with a Fatty Liver? That's episode 131. So go back. That'll help you if you're thinking, I can't remember all that. Those 2 episodes are available for you to listen to.
You said episode because those are different than the ones I have. Let me.
Yep. So episode 127. Episode 127, that one's on Can You Really Eat Carbs? It'll talk a lot about what we're talking about today because yes, you can. It's the type of carbs and how much, but absolutely you can, and your brain needs them. And this, again, it's not right after surgery, but you won't be long at all before you start adding carbs in. The other one is Does Weight Loss Surgery Help with Fatty Liver? That's episode number 131.
Does weight loss surgery help with a fatty liver?
Does weight loss surgery help with fatty liver? That's episode.
And then the 2 that I actually have, and I'll be adding all of this onto Facebook here, was How to Cut a Mango and Bariatric Surgery Success 127. Oh, that's the, okay.
Yep.
I did have
on
that.
The carb. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'll end with mango because people might be saying, wait, you haven't talked about mango. If you shy away from a mango because you think, I don't know what to do with it, watch the video from the Mango Organization on how to cut one. You don't have to peel a mango. So if you're not thinking, I don't do it, what a pain in the patootie, I'm not going to peel that, you don't have to. They have a quick video that shows you how to cut a mango. So mango is a great fruit. It has an alphabet of vitamins, A, B, C, E, K. It has fiber. It has copper. And when you don't have to peel it, that's a plus. So she can share that video. They're very easy to cut. They're in season right now. So if you enjoy a good mango.
There was also a question here in the Ask a Question feature. Tamia says, how about whole wheat conscious? I hope I'm saying that right. Is it okay to have?
Couscous. Couscous? Is it C-O-U-C-O-U-S?
Mm-hmm.
C-O-U, yeah. What about whole wheat couscous? Absolutely. That's another grain that you can go with. What you want to look for anytime you're comparing your grains, like if you're in the grocery store and you're in the grain aisle and there's a plethora of them, look and see for your serving size, which one is going to give you the most nutrition. When I say nutrition, less carbs, more fiber, some protein, and the vitamins and minerals. So all of these are grains. All of them can be rotated. The higher fiber ones are the ones you want to go with.
And
good question.
One more, and then we're going to kind of do our little closing. It looks like we had sunflower. Maybe I've already said that. Sunflower seeds or sunflower oil.
Well, sunflower oil is another healthy oil. It's another option for cooking, for making salad dressings. So your oils really vary. Some will be higher in saturated fat, which is the one you want to try to limit because it clogs your arteries. That would be like a coconut oil. You want to use that on a very limited basis. But your sunflower, your canola, your walnut, your avocado, those are healthier oils that tend to be mono saturated and polyunsaturated, the more heart healthy types of fat. They're all fine to use and to rotate depending on what you're making. Again, it comes down to about how much that you are using. And that will all depend on how hard you work out, what your caloric intake is that you're trying to aim for. And even if you're not doing calories, which you don't have to, you always will have lots of protein, a moderate, lesser amount of carbs, and some healthy fat.
So there is a question about the name of your group that you have in Facebook. And I put Bariatric Surgery Success with dietitian Dr. Susan Mitchell.
Yes.
Is that the correct? Is that the right one? Okay.
You can find it under private groups, and then you'll see some little questions, a place to ask to join.
And I'll add that to our comment section.
You're very welcome to join us.
Yes.
We have a lot of good conversation. But this is the kind of stuff we talk about.
So tell us in kind of closing for that, any closing thoughts, and how can they get a hold of you?
So I guess the closing thought is don't let carbs scare you. You can eat carbs after surgery. And you need carbs for the rest of your life, like we were just saying, especially for your brain, and they run the body. But the amount of carbs matter. Protein is always your number one focus for now and forever. But the type of carbs matter. looking for them to be a smart carb, meaning high in fiber, low in sugar, and lots of nutrition. So yes. And where you can find me, my website is breakingdownnutrition.com. breakingdownnutrition.com. We have a contact us at the top of there. If you want to, if you have a question, a problem, something you need to, you can also join in on the private Facebook group. More than happy to have you. It's a great place to be very real and ask your questions and get answers in a safe environment. I hope you enjoyed today. I was really glad to be here, and I hope I gave you some things to think about.
Oh, perfect. Yes, it's been enlightening. And I think you mentioned so many things that are honestly not things that I really hadn't even heard of before. The
Good.
the
And a lot of
dates,
these we mentioned,
dates, the
medjool dates. Oh, they're so
term,
good.
the I don't know, I have a whole list here.
Good.
Some of that flatbread ideas was great. And everybody's saying thank you. I mean, we really
You are so
appreciate it.
welcome. My pleasure. I love being here.
Yes. And I just want to mention too, Dr. Mitchell I call you Susan, but it is
That's fine.
Dr. Susan
I answered all. I answered a lot worse than that.
I put her website up. She is also, so one thing that we've been doing at the end of these is kind of highlighting a product. And I was going to do that now, if it's okay.
Let's go right ahead.
I also want to highlight that I just want to say that you've been a user of ProCare products for some time and promote them on your website. You're an affiliate. So she does have a link and a code that you're welcome to use to save 10% off, which I'll put the information for that here up real quickly. If it's okay if I share that, are you okay with that?
I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
And there are a lot of good supplement companies out there, don't get me wrong, but I am picky about what I promote and picky about where they're made and how they're tested. And that's one of the things that drew me in the beginning when you and I were talking a long time ago, and that you have had numerous of your products tested by consumer labs and various testing groups for quality, and that they contain what they say. And that to me is very, very important. And a lot of your products are made in the US. I didn't mean to talk about any of this, but I just know as a dietitian, there are reasons that I look for things. And whatever supplement you choose, whatever company you choose, you want to make sure that you're comparing and looking at quality, not just price.
It is important. And I can remember those conversations before you decided. I'm telling you, she does do her research. She's not lying. She had so many great questions, and I learned a lot just by trying to answer her questions, because I had to go back to our team and ask. But yeah, she did do a lot of research before deciding to become a part of our ProCare team.
Yeah,
so thank you for sharing that. And we actually came up with a new product, and I'm not even so sure if you know about this one yet. I'm going to share a screenshot. I have my notes here pulled up. Apologize about that. Whoops. I'm looking for my pictures. Here we go. So the question here is, can you tell me more about methylfolate and how it is different than folate or folic acid? So ProCare Health has came up with a product. It's methylfolate, and it is a little different than just regular folate. We actually make all of our bariatric multivitamins with methylfolate now instead of regular folate, and that's different than most bariatric companies. Some people do have a gene mutation that they're not able to basically absorb, folate correctly. So it is very helpful with that. You know that through lab testing. It is the best absorbed folate. It's better absorbed, than folate or folic acid. It's broken down into folic acid in the body and does not need to be converted before being available in the body. And folate deficiency can occur up to 65% after weight loss surgery. So if you're deficient in folate for whatever reason and you need to add it in addition, because it is in our bariatric multivitamins, methylfolate is, but if you need additional methylfolate, know that it's something that's available. So just wanted to kind of add that, and I will show you here on our site I'm actually going to stop sharing here for just a second.
And that would be a question for your bariatric dietitian, by the way, before you add on an extra amount of folic acid. You would definitely want to have that discussion and make sure that there's a clinical need for that.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes. I mean, it wouldn't be something necessarily that everybody would need. It'd be something specifically for a niche part of the community. So yes, thank you for sharing that. And I'll kind of share where people can find that if they choose to do. Here on the ProCare Health website. And basically, once you get there, there's a little drop down button right here that says bariatric multivitamins, calcium, protein, and therapeutics. It's actually here under the therapeutics section. You can take a look. We have lots and lots of new things that we've been adding. The products that say ProCare Health on the top are actually ProCare products. And then we also are a distributor for Now. So you'll see some of those as well. I'm going to kind of go down. I think it's on page 2. We actually have 2 pages. So as I kind of page down, load more.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to add a comment, okay?
Yeah.
You know me, I always have something to say. So while she's finding that, the reason this is found under therapeutics is you have to remember therapeutic means a medical or clinical need for something over and above average intake, okay? So it's not a place that you want to start popping things that you don't know you need. These are specialized products made for specialized conditions. And this is where it's really important that you're working with your bariatric dietitian, your bariatric physician team, PA, whoever it is, and that you don't randomly take something, because what we know in nutrition is sometimes too much of one thing can screw up something else in the body. And that has a lot to do with the B vitamins. So you can overdo one and be low on another, and you don't know that. So you just remember therapeutic means there needs to be a cause for that.
Yeah, thank you. Because there is a lot of the things that we have on those pages are additional forms of calcium. We also have vitamin D, which a lot of people are deficient in, need extra of that. Some B1. There's some other things. A lot of these are in your bariatric multivitamins. So yes, you would want to double check. But here is the methylfolate on this page. And I will share the link here in our chat box in just a second. So it says, when should we buy these vitamins? Do you want to answer that? When do you usually tell patients? I can tell what I've said before, but I'll let you answer that first.
If you know you're having bariatric surgery and you're seeing your bariatric dietitian before you even get, as you're preparing for all the things, a lot of times, a lot of bariatric dietitians will start you on your multi before surgery to get you going. And they may even run labs to find out if you have deficiencies to know about ahead of time. Are you iron deficient? Are there things that they need to know about that they might want to treat before you go in? So that's a question to ask if you haven't had surgery yet, is when do you want me to start my bariatric multivitamin? And are there any others you want me to take at the same time before I go in? If not, certainly, typically they'll have you on them by the time you leave the hospital or within that first little bit of time. You may change the form because sometimes you can't take a tablet. You might need a chewable. You might need it intramuscularly. It just depends on your particular situation. So these are really good questions to ask ahead of time and be prepared for it.
Yeah. And every program's different. I mean,
yes,
some programs will say, start them before surgery. Some programs want you to wait until after.
Yes.
Some programs will say, wait a couple weeks after. I mean, every program's different. So make sure and check with because it does make a difference too. A lot of times they'll do baseline lab work to check your vitamin levels before surgery. And that can affect your vitamin labs too. So, you want to kind of look to make sure you're doing it when your provider says. Amy said, that was my question about vitamins. I couldn't take prenatal. Will they find out why with blood work? So I would say, depending on what kind of prenatal vitamin you're taking, Amy, I don't know if you're taking it pre-surgery or if you're post-surgery. Can you tell us that? The thing about prenatals, they may or may not have everything you need
Right.
as far as
at the
bariatric
levels that you
surgery.
need.
But
Yeah.
ProCare does have a bariatric prenatal vitamin. So that's something you might want to talk to your provider about. They made me sick. No, this was when pregnant. I'm pre-surgery. So yes, if you're interested in checking that out, like even post-surgery, sometimes a lot of our patients we found will take prenatals actually. I have allergies for whatever reason because it's here in Missouri. There's like allergy stuff everywhere, and I was working outside all morning. A lot of patients who are prenatal will actually start prenatals early on, and I don't know if you maybe that's something to consider. But I would say definitely talk to your providers, your OBGYN and your bariatric surgeon to kind of get recommendations on that. But ProCare does have a prenatal formula that's specifically formulated for people who have had weight loss surgery. So something to check out, especially post-op. Looks like I have one more Q&A. Oh, that's just Cindy telling me, so I will answer that. And anything else before we jump off?
Nope. I enjoyed it very much. A lot of good questions. Thanks for your time. I'm so glad you guys joined in today.
Yes. So yes, thank you everybody, and everyone have a wonderful evening. Check out upcoming events with Dr. Susan Mitchell on her podcast. Check out ProCare Health. You can find us through our Bari Connected tab on the ProCare Health website at the very top there. I forgot to show y'all, but it's right there at the top. It's called Bari Connected. We have a hub with upcoming events for the next month, and keep joining us. Keep here and stay in the community, and everyone just have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.